Kick back, have a sit, turn it up, get your fix. Time to upgrade, augment, but stay real, this the naked patient. Come by, the doc is in, you'll understand why it's good to be Nick. Like a tattoo, these words stick. All net, never throwing up bricks. Let's grow together through the weather, we can make a dent. Authentic people sharing stories, hope that it clicks. No need to dress it up, this is real as it gets. Let's strip it down, it's the naked patient, yeah.
Hello and welcome to The Naked Patient. I am Dr. Nicholas Howland. With me today is my very good friend, Shelly Rudd. Hey, Shelly.
Hi.
Dude,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. This was, okay, so first of all, this was very kind of kismet. Is that how you say? Kismet, how this happened?
Yes.
Where I have a very short window today. Normally I block out like a whole half day and we do 4 or 5 interviews, knock them out. And that's the podcasts every week for the month. And I'm leaving for Phoenix this afternoon. And so I only had like 2 hours. And my one person fell off. And I was scrambling. This was yesterday. I was scrambling yesterday, trying to figure out who I was going to put on the show. And you sent me a message. You're like, hey, I'd love to be on the podcast sometime. And I was like, oh my gosh, how about tomorrow? Did that throw you off a little bit?
Yes, it did. Well, you had asked me a while ago after one of my post-op appointments if I wanted to. And I initially was like, no way.
Yeah.
And then I listened to some of your episodes and I'm like, I love what he's doing. This is awesome. I should tell him I'd be interested.
You don't have to give me specifics on the episode or anything. What was it that made you say, hey, I want to share?
I will say I have people who come. And obviously, you know, I'm a fitness instructor and I had to take a lot of time off when I had 3 surgeries in 1 year. Sure. So I have a lot of people asking me and the details of it. And then I started to realize a lot of people are interested and they want to know more about it. And if I can help someone make a decision in that way or, you know, help someone make the right choice for them as far as their body goes, then why not?
Yeah.
I'm in that space. So,
and I'm not going to let you like gloss over, I'm a fitness instructor. So Shelly is like a major fitness influencer.
I don't think a major
fitness influencer. Like you log into a machine and Shelly's there giving you your lesson for the day. And so let's come back to your surgery. We'll come back to your surgery. Like tell me about you as a fitness instructor. How did you get into that? What do you do? Like what makes that tick?
So I would say I've always been an active soul. It runs in my blood. My maiden name is Stringham, and everyone says, "Where do all these Stringhams get?" It's literally in my blood. So I was a dancer growing up, and as a dancer, I think there's a lot of things that come with that. And I had
a Stringham dance company.
There's a Stringham real estate school, but not a dance company.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not related to that Stringham.
Okay.
Anyhow, so I, as a young dancer, was very ambitious and was all about being the best. And it's all I wanted. A little too much, where some dancers go. I had an eating disorder. I really struggled. And I wanted to run a marathon when I was a junior in high school. Mm-hmm. And when you are not healthy, you can't run 26 miles with an eating disorder. So my mom took me to a nutritionist and he had me write down everything I'd eaten that day. He's like, okay, 500 calories isn't going to get you 26 miles. And it was kind of like this big, like bang over the head, like you've got to choose what you want to do here. And I knew I wanted to be a fit, active person. And so it kind of changed things for me. And because I was running, and it sounds weird, but running a marathon got me out of my eating disorder because it made me feel okay to eat.
How old were you?
I was 16. And I had osteoporosis in my spine, like an 8-year-old woman, because I had amenorrhea.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with that term. So basically your hips suck all the calcium out of your spine.
Yeah.
So, and I even had a blessing. I'm an LDS member. I had a patriarchal blessing, and it told me, you are going to come out of this infirmity and you're going to help people with health, body, and mind.
That is really cool.
Which was really cool. So I kind of knew it was something that was in me and that I wanted to share with people.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another. I graduated early from high school. I danced professionally for Odyssey Dance Theater here in Utah. And I started certifying for one thing at a time in fitness. So I started teaching Les Mills programs like Body Pump, Body Combat, like all these different things. I started doing personal training on Pilates reformers, which was really great as a dancer. Because
those are torture devices.
And I was actually on mine this morning. I love it. So
okay, hold on. Before we dive into this, like what was driving that unhealthy behavior? Like what was behind the eating disorder, the I'm not good enough, like?
Because I think as a dancer, nothing is quite good enough. Mm-hmm. And I kind of peaked as a sophomore. I won a lot of, I was Miss Drill Team, Utah, USA, and International as a sophomore, as a 16-year-old. So I kind of peaked there. But then it was kind of like, okay, what's next? And so you go to like the next level and you're never quite good enough. And a lot of it was how you looked as a dancer.
Yeah.
So when I was dancing for Odyssey, not that I want to throw anyone under the bus there, but it was really interesting. I knew I was a talented dancer.
Yeah.
But I had put on a freshman 15 because I had moved out of school. I put on freshman 15. I was like, I got to lose this weight. So I went on this really dumb diet, which I wouldn't recommend. And I lost weight really fast. And I was all of a sudden spaced into all these dances and had way more stage time, you know?
Well, so that just drives it more, right?
100%. And it got to a point where I ended up only dancing for them for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a positive thing. And I knew fitness is where I wanted to be because I could find a healthy balance there with food and, you know, and with fitness. And I'm an all or nothing person. So I tend to take things extreme, and it's really good for me to kind of like reel it back in. So one thing led to another, and I'm a certified nutritionist also, a personal trainer. And, I teach at studios. I did a lot of personal training, and now I'm just at a studio in Draper called Studio IVL. I teach just twice a week, and we live stream everything. Mm-hmm. And I was also an iFit trainer for.
That's right.
Yeah. So iFit is kind of similar to Peloton, where you have the machines. I'm on all the Nordic track machines. I did a lot more of their strength training workouts, which I just loved it. But they stopped filming about a year ago.
Okay. When you're an instructor on that, do they like judge your popularity? Are they like, hey, you had this many downloads, so we're going to give you more money? Or
I know it was definitely something that would help. And that's one of the reasons I started pushing my Instagram page a little bit, because I was like, oh, they'll book me more if I have a bigger following or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't always the case, you know?
Yeah.
But I know that is the case for other companies. So, I mean, it definitely can't hurt.
Yeah.
And I think too, your numbers, like how many people show up on your classes. But then it's also tricky because they give you parameters like, okay, you're doing a beginner workout. You cannot do this, this, and this. And by the way, it's at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're literally teaching these workout classes to people like across the world.
Yeah.
You know, which is really great. Your reach is really far with it.
Yeah.
But that was the other tricky part. It wasn't always exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew it was, but I loved being a part of it. It was really awesome. So, and my workouts are still on the machines, which is cool.
That is cool.
So,
okay. So you turned this negative experience into this really like, you know what, I'm going to be positive with this, and I'm going to go completely the other way.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. It's been a thing. I just think it's a common thing for women, especially, you don't necessarily have to be a dancer, but I think most girls, even teenage girls, go through it. It's a common thing, and they're afraid to talk about it.
It's super common.
Yeah.
I have not had a dancer or, you know, cheerleader or anybody on this podcast, or really, I don't know that I've talked to anybody who went through dance in a healthy way.
Yeah, it's not. And it's crazy, but I always knew I didn't want to have a daughter because it scared me. of what they would go through. And I have 3 boys.
Yeah, my daughter's 15 and on the cheer team, and I see it right now. And so I hope you give yourself the credit you deserve, because coming out of it the way you have is super rare. Thank you.
Yeah, the pressure is immense in this world. And I think, and it's hard too, being a fitness professional too, because you're expected still to look a certain way. But I love now that strong is kind of the new skinny.
Sure.
you know, and I gravitate towards that. And I love having muscle.
Yeah.
And I love being that. But I also, the biggest key is I wanted to be feminine, which brings me to my plastic surgery.
There we go.
Because I mean, I am not the tallest person. You know, I've done a lot of fitness modeling and stuff, and I could never do runway stuff because I'm not tall enough, but I have muscle and I can build muscle, and you don't look very feminine with muscle and not much up here. So
you do not. And I see a huge range of athletic women, like because I think there's this idea that you have athletic and non-athletic women, but there's such a variation or variety in just the athletic women from a plastic surgery standpoint. There's your CrossFitters, there's your bodybuilders who are completely a different beast. There's women who are more on like the bikini model end of body shows, and it's a whole range.
Yeah, it is a huge range.
And you have to approach each one of those women differently. Like my CrossFitters come to me and they're like, listen, I'm going to be doing all these crazy exercises. I can't have my implants shifting and moving all over the place.
Yes.
And then you get your bodybuilders who are like, I'm going to have massive pecs. So the implants cannot be under my pecs. They have to be on top of my pecs. And there's a trade-off when they're on top of the pecs of what they're going to look like, where they're going to sit, potential for capsular contracture in the long run. And so it's a challenge.
Yes, and I went through all those problems with you.
I know.
As you know.
so let's talk about that. So you came in to see me, but I was not your first surgeon. You had already had breast augmentation before coming to see me.
Yeah, so I had them for about 13 years, and they had turned into solid rocks. They were on top of the muscle because just like you said, I didn't want the animation that came with it when I was teaching classes, when I was on camera. I didn't like that.
Yeah. So just so people know who are listening. So when we do a breast augmentation, there's really two places you can put the implant. One is on top of the pectoralis muscle, and that's called a subglandular implant placement. And then one is below the pec muscle, which is called a submuscular placement. And there's pros and cons to both. So when it's under the muscle, you're going to get what's called animation deformity, which Shelly just kind of referenced. Every time you flex your pec, that's going to push the implant to the side. And if you watch for this at the gym, you'll will see
everyone in Utah.
Every single person. You will see implants across the room. You'll see, oh, that's what that is that's moving. And that's like your new little party trick when you get implants under your pec muscle. And then on top of the muscle, you don't have the animation deformity, but it's technically a more dirty plane because it's exposed to the breast tissue, which is not entirely sterile. And so you have a higher risk for what's called capsular contracture. So under the muscle, that risk is about 1% a year. Over the muscle, that risk is about 8% a year. So over those 13 years, you had developed really bad capsular contracture.
Yes. Like I would hug people and it was literally just rocks.
Yeah.
Pushing against them. And one of them in particular had basically shifted out. Would you say out of the pocket? Do you remember? It was coming. I couldn't wear a swimsuit that was a low neckline because you could see the implant that had come in towards my sternum. So it was making this really weird shape. Yeah, and then on top of that, my nipples weren't where they should be. Yeah. So everything was just getting really messed up from this capsule contracture. Yes. And it was uncomfortable too.
Yes. And you remember every time somebody comes into me with capsular contracture and they describe it as hard, they're hard.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Mean Girls, the movie, when she's like, feel my mom's boobs. They're hard as rocks.
Oh.
Like, that's not a good thing.
No, you
That's
don't want that.
Contracture.
You want them to be soft.
Yes. So Shelly has, at some point, I'll convince you to let me share your pictures.
Yes.
At some point, because it is, you and I have known each other.
We might
long
have to
enough
with the podcast, but
that I can at least just say it was terrible.
it was so bad.
And it had nothing to do with her prior surgeon. It was just capsular contracture above the muscle. It has a high chance of happening. And the scar tissue had pulled her breast so severely to the side that one of her nipples was pointing almost in a 90-degree direction the other way. And I think at one point we made a joke where you if your shirt was off, you would ask, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
Because one boob was just completely the other way. But it was also really traumatic for you.
My husband was I don't think he knew any different. He knew there was obviously something wrong. He's just like, I'm worried about your health. Like, there's got to be something that can't be good for you here. So let's get this fixed.
Okay.
Go see if it's like a health problem. Maybe there's something, let's just fix it. Yeah. And I did go to another doctor for a consult and he made me cry.
Really?
I walked out of his office in tears because, like you said, it was terrible, but the way I'm so grateful for your bedside manners because you didn't make me feel like, he looked at me like his reaction was so terrible. I just felt like scum. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. Like, he made me feel like I was so ugly.
I'm so sorry.
Well, no, it's okay. But
and even now, I don't mean to poke fun at it or make
oh no, not at all. I think you handled it so well, and you were so real about it.
Yeah.
But what I didn't want to hear is you said, and I liked how in depth you were with it, and that's something about going to Dr. Howland is you're getting a really professional person handling your body because he went and you told me you talked to your mentor in Arizona.
Yeah. Steven Sigalov, who is an excellent breast surgeon.
Yeah. And you showed him my pictures and you said, what would you do here? You wanted to thoroughly investigate the situation basically. And you said, you're not going to want to hear this, but you have to do 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way. Like, I've already been putting it off because I can't take 6 weeks off of filming and my job, this is my job and whatever. And we did it in the summertime, so it was fine. And you were so great. You're like, look, I'll take care of the cost of the extra surgery. I just want them to turn out how I know they're going to turn out. You're like, if I put a new implant in right then, I don't know where everything's going to go.
Yeah.
So,
well, that was the biggest question for me was I didn't know what was going to happen to your tissue after we took those implants out. We had to go into a new pocket. We had to go under your muscle, and we had that conversation, what the pros and cons of that meant and what that meant for your career. But I had no idea if your nipple was going to come back into position, if your tissue was going to stay really contracted. You had very thin tissue. And so I didn't know how scary that was going to be because we were taking out all the scar tissue as well. And so that first surgery was all about implants out, scar tissue out. Let's see what happens.
And you found out they were both ruptured.
Yes.
They were both ruptured, which was another topic, which I know you've talked about before in your podcast because I listened to that one, but was it just breast implant? Was it illness? What's the correct term for it?
Breast implant illness.
Breast implant illness. So, and I had thyroid issues that I had taken care of, but I do a lot of hiking and trail running up at high elevations. Mm-hmm. And there's this particular trail that I love in Utah. It's up Big Cottonwood Canyon. And there's a part where you get at a pretty high elevation, but not even that. I was so nauseated every time I would do that trail.
Oh, which trail?
It was Desolation.
Oh, I love Desolation.
Yes. Mildy.
Yeah.
So we go up and we hit Dog Lake and then we go up to Desolation.
Yeah.
And between Dog and Desolation, I'm always so nauseous. Yeah. Like I'm going to throw up. I don't know what's going on. And I didn't know if it was a thing. I had a friend who said, there's this Facebook group. You could have it. You should get them out. So I was like, this is going to be a good test for me to see, and when you said they were ruptured, I was like, okay, I wonder if I'm going to feel any different. because I had to have them out for 6 weeks
Yeah.
before you'd put in new ones. So I went and did that trail after, because I recovered pretty quick. I had drains for like a week, and then I went on that trail. And I don't think it was a placebo effect. I'm telling you, I felt 100% different.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did not feel sick at all.
I love it.
Which was really bizarre to me. And I'm like, well, gosh, maybe I shouldn't get implants. But I'm like, well, if they were oozing, that's different than like if they're not oozing. I mean, so I almost, and you even told me, you said, watch out, you might not want them back in.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that's not going to happen, but whatever. So by 4 weeks had gone by, and I was really on the fence about getting them again.
Yeah.
Because I loved how I felt. I loved how I felt when I was working out without them. Like, I didn't feel like they were in the way. Well, and obviously I got rid of these 2 rocks in front of my body, but what was it like? So, but then I knew I missed that when I put on a swimsuit and in intimate situations. Like, I was like, I can't do this, like hanging skin. That was like not worth it for me.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to get them back in. And I was like, okay, well, if they were ruptured, like, let's see how I feel. And I will say, I feel the same. Like, I'm fine with my new ones. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I very well could have.
It's such a hard thing because there's stories like yours all over the place that are real stories, and nobody's lying. Everybody's telling their stories. From a scientific standpoint, you've got to be able to prove that there's a cause, right? That implants are causing you to be nauseated, or a ruptured implant is causing you to be nauseated. And right now, as far as breast implant illness goes, we don't have any study or information to say, yes, breast implants cause these things. And so all we can do, and at least for me as a surgeon and a scientist, is look at the evidence. So for most people, like a huge chunk of the population, implants are very, very safe, and people do great with them. They're the most studied medical device in human history. But I see enough people like you who have had these stories where they feel better without them, that I just personally, I think that there's a small set of the population who, you get a foreign body in, whether it's a breast implant or a knee implant or anything else, and that foreign body is enough to make your body be like, okay, F that, we're going to go this way now.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's and so that's why I will put implants in most people, but I also will take them out. But I have that conversation with everybody where I say, listen, this is a foreign body we're putting in. That does not come without potential risks. I tell everybody, implant is a car. It might need an oil change at some point.
Exactly.
And so you did great. We ended up doing the second surgery. But I want to talk about that because listen, you coming on here and talking nicely about me is great, but I actually don't want this podcast to be like a rah Dr. Howland podcast. And so I actually try to bring on patients that we have either had a complication or have not had maybe the very best outcome, because I think those are important to highlight.
Right.
And you and I had a major miscommunication.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to let you tell your side of that.
Okay. So one of the reasons I came to Dr. Howland for a consult originally was he was one of a handful of doctors that do the mesh bra. And I thought that would maybe be my answer for them not moving like they had before with the capsule contracture. And so I loved that you did that, and you were very easy to work with. And so we planned on doing that, but you had the understanding that you gave me the option. You said, if you want to go over the muscle, we're going to have to put the bra in and just hope they stay. And the problem is your chances of getting a capsule contracture again go way up because you've already had it. Mm-hmm. Didn't you say you could be back here in like 2 years or something? Yeah. And I said, oh, no way. So you talked me into going under the muscle, which even though they do animate now, I had to get used to it. That was a big transition for me. Like when I first got them, I was like, okay, this is weird. Like even working my back, anything, they just shift.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I thought even still, cause I did pay for the mesh bra, I thought you were still going to put it in there for precaution, where your understanding was if we went under the muscle, I didn't need them. Yeah. So, and when I had paid for them, I thought we understood that I was getting the mesh bra. So we go in and you also did you did a little bit of a fat transfer from my inner thighs to my cleavage because I have a really wide sternum. So it was like a whole new surgery for me because I hadn't gone under the muscle before. So that recovery was a little rough. Oh, yeah. So I come in after, I don't know how many months, like I did the post-op. And then I think after.
It's like your 1 month visit, I think.
Yeah.
We had.
My 1 month visit, I said, why am I feeling this under my armpit? Is that the mesh bra? And you're like, oh, I didn't put it in. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't put it in? You're like, you didn't need it. I was like, man. Okay.
And listen, that was a realization for me when I was like, oh shit. And so as a surgeon, we go through so many checks and balances to make sure that the surgery goes exactly how it's supposed to go. Like whenever I see a patient the day of surgery, I tell them like, okay, everybody's going to come in here. And the first thing they're going to say is, what are we doing? We all know it's written down in 20 places. We all know what we're doing. But this is part of the safety check. We need to know that you're on that same page. And I always have the same joke I tell. Like they tell me what they're having done and I say, great, now you're not going to come out with a nose job.
Right.
Unless they are getting a nose job.
Yeah.
But for somewhere that communication got missed. And I completely thought, oh, we're only putting this mesh bra in if we're staying on top of the muscle. And when we come out a month later and you're like, what's the deal? I was like, oh no. And for me, I have had a couple of these moments with patients where either a complication happens or a miscommunication happens. And the absolute best thing you can do is be 100% honest. Which
you were. You owned that.
Absolutely.
You're like, I'll give you your money back.
you have to. And that goes against like training from attorneys to doctors. They tell you never to apologize. They tell you never to take ownership.
Really? From attorneys?
Complications. Oh yeah. Because that can, if you say I'm sorry or I screwed up, that can immediately get held against you in a malpractice suit. And so I don't buy that. I think that even in today's highly litigious society, I just think being honest and taking full ownership is the right way to go.
I agree. And I think it's great that you're the bigger person that way. You know, that's not the easiest way to go. You could have said, oh no, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it. And I think what threw us off was right before we went into surgery, we changed where you were going to take fat from on my body.
Oh, okay.
We were going to take it from my side. Mm-hmm. And I was so worried about it because I heard it was so painful. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this. You're like, well, let's take it from the inner thighs. It's like, oh, you can do that. You're like, yeah, no drain. I'm like, done. So we just kind of switched things around right before. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that took some attention off of what I was expecting, obviously. Yeah. You know, so.
Well, and so I think on top of the ownership thing, what's important as well is once you take ownership, and I think this is just rules for life, right? Once you take ownership of something, that's all well and good. But then how are you going to follow up taking ownership of it? How are you going to make it right? And so for you, I was like, we're going to go back. If the internal bra is important to you, we go back, we put it in, and I pay for it. That's what we did.
Well, but what happened was you said, I'll give you your money back. You don't need it. Let's see how it goes.
This is true.
So then I came in, it had been about 4 months. We were 4 months post-op and they had completely shifted. Like they started moving out to the side. They were dropping and I couldn't believe it. So I came in and you took a look and you said, wow, maybe after 4 years, but not 4 months.
Yeah.
That's what you said to me. You're like, this is crazy.
I think I underestimated how active.
Yes. I'm like, well, I guess you don't understand what I do. So, yeah, they did move quite a bit, and you were really great. And you said, look, this is on me. I know it sucks to have another surgery, but let's make it right. I'll even give you a higher profile of implant that I didn't have to pay for because they had dropped a little and I wanted more fullness up there. So you were really great and really worked with me. And that third surgery was the easiest surgery. Like, it was so easy, I think, because I had already had that pocket.
Good.
And I mean, you probably don't want me talking about how I recover, but
no, you please tell people, because how you recover,
because I was always
what keeps me up at night and drives me crazy.
If the 6 weeks is holding you back from doing what you really want to do for yourself, Dr. Howland is so great to work with. Like, he knows how active I am. So after 5 days, like, they say not to get your heart rate up. So I just would walk on my treadmill. Mm-hmm. I was walking on my treadmill the day after. And then at day 5, I was like, can I just run?
Which I'm also fine with. But
I said, I really just need to run. He's like, go get a really good bra, maybe wear 2, but listen to your body. And I said, done. So I started running and I ran 6 miles and it felt great. But I do think I'm more in tune with my body than maybe the average person.
This is fair. But then I see you on a kayaking trip.
I was like, oh yeah. Oh, but I didn't do the kayaking. Yes.
Oh, good.
I did text you. I'm like, my friends are going on this hiking trip. They're doing kayaking of the horseshoe at Lake Powell. And you're like, yeah, don't do that. I was like, okay.
Don't do that. Shelly would like ask me, I'm like, are you
I straight up asked him. He's like, no, don't do that. So I did not do the kayaking.
Good.
And it was really great. I ended up being fine.
I had a buddy who, very similar to you, very active, very fit, and we did a gynecomastia surgery for him. So we took some extra breast tissue.
Okay.
And so we take some of this out, and he texts me. He's like, hey, there's this, and it's the same restrictions, like no pec workouts for a solid like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yes.
It is, hey, I've got this modeling shoot for this, it was actually with Nordic Track.
Oh.
And he's like, I got this modeling shoot. Am I okay for it? And I said, well, yeah, I just don't want you doing like any crazy pec workouts or anything. He says, okay, cool. The next day, his Instagram shows a video of him just going crazy on these chest flies.
Oh, on the CST
machine.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, you have got to be kidding
You told me about him. That's right.
Yeah.
That's really funny. But I did not do any, and I could always feel if like my chest would engage at all. If I felt that at all, I would stop doing it.
Yeah.
But you did say, look, you can start lifting really light. You can't do anything with your chest. Mm-hmm. So I did. And I was able to get through it very safely. And I feel like I recovered well. And I think the other thing that really helped me was you telling me to wear a bra at night for six months.
We kept you in it.
But it's my new normal. I can't sleep without one now.
Oh, good.
So, which is really good. And I feel like that's going to help it. Because my lifestyle is my lifestyle, like you said. Mm-hmm. And I love that you put those expectations out there. Like, you're like, they're never going to be perfect. They're sisters, not twins.
Well, and that bra one is interesting. I love that you've become used to it, because that's always a hard conversation that I have. Is patients ask me, well, how long do I have to wear a bra for? And as a surgeon, like, gravity doesn't go away. We just put 2 fairly heavy sacks in your chest. And the answer as a surgeon is forever.
And
always.
When you're on your back, they fall to the side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah. And so it's like forever. But I also will tell people, listen, as your friend, though, you just paid a lot of money for these. If you're not going to hurt anything to go have a night on the town without a bra on, or to occasionally skip having a bra on when you sleep. But they're going to do better if you get to a point where that's just your norm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm almost a year now, I think, from my 3rd surgery.
Good. We need the 1 year post-op.
1 year post-op. Yeah. They've shrunk down a little bit, and I actually really like the size of them. I think they're great. And I feel like I'm at a good, cause I'm not the type of person that wants to look like, oh, she had plastic surgery, right? No. Or she looks fake. I wanted to look more natural. And that's exactly what I think you did for me. So
even when you're like on one of your videos and you're in like a top with some leggings, like there's no fake look at all.
Yes.
It just looks very natural.
Yes. I'm very happy. So you did an awesome job. And I recommend you to a lot of people. And I say, look, we had a miscommunication and he was so cool about it. I'm like, but you know what? He's a perfectionist and you're going to get, good work done if you go to him. So
thank you. That means a lot.
Yes.
All right. We've got a few minutes left. So we're going to put plastic surgery behind us. Tell me whatever you want to tell me. I just want to hear who Shelly is.
I'm a mom of 3 boys just trying to make it. But I'm glad you asked though, because I do have a passion for fitness and travel. There are 2 things. Back in 2019, I changed my handle on Instagram from Shelly Rudd to Shelly Rudd Travel Fit because I had all these plans to travel and do workouts like while traveling and all the things. And then COVID happened. Yeah. So like everyone else, my plans changed. And then I started doing online workouts. And I started a YouTube channel, and then that's how iFit found me. So all things kind of happen for a reason.
I didn't realize that. That's
cool. How they found me. And so I started doing that. And then now that that's kind of come and gone, I am embarking on my dream of having fitness retreats around the world. So I just put a survey on my Instagram. If you're interested in traveling the world with me and exploring it, basically, you don't have to be a certain fitness level.
Where's the first one?
I don't know yet. That's what the survey is, to see where most people want to go.
Spain.
But I'm thinking like Costa Rica, Bali. Spain, sure. Switzerland. Hey, the world.
Bali.
Anyway.
I'm going to Bali over Thanksgiving.
Are you real? Oh, I'm very jealous.
I'm taking the kids.
That sounds, you're taking the kids to Bali. That's amazing.
So this last Christmas, I had my 2 kids and I realized my daughter's 15. There's like 3 more years. And then that's it. And so my whole mantra this year is no more things. It's all experiences.
I love it.
And so my son's going on a big trip. And then I'm going to take both of them over Thanksgiving and we're going to do Bali and Singapore and whatever they want to do.
Singapore after Crazy Rich Asians. I'm like, I've got to go there. It seems amazing.
It's all she wants to do. She's like, street food, Dad. It's Michelin star rated.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah. So basically, I just want to share like a healthy lifestyle with people. I have, my Instagram page is kind of
how would
casual.
That trip look? Like I'm going to go on a fitness trip with Shelly. Like, what do we do on this? Are we running every day?
No, you don't have to don't feel like you're going to get run into the ground. However, I have people who would do that. I have a group of friends that are all about that. I think my envision is to have different fitness levels and you have options to do certain activities. We'll have a couple, we can have different fitness workshops, nutrition seminars, and then obviously R&R time and a lot of exploring.
Yeah.
That's going on hikes and all sorts of things.
That's what I like.
And your Iceland trip, I was so jealous of your Iceland trip.
So good.
That's another place that is like waterfall heaven.
That country has an energy that just, there are places you go that just feel special. Like for me, Iceland was one of those places. You're just there and like, okay.
Oh, so cool.
Something's cool here.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like I'm at a place, my youngest is 6. He goes to school all day. I'm kind of arriving to where I can start to do these things.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. And I just give nutrition, health tips, all my favorite things on my Instagram. I always try to hook people up with discounts on stuff because if I do, why should everyone else pay full price if I can get you a discount, So, but that's where I'm going with it. And yeah, I'm excited. It should be a lot of fun.
Good. I'm excited to see how it comes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening to The Naked Patient Beyond the Operating Room. I'm Dr. Nicholas Howland. Please remember that every patient who appears on this podcast has consented to discuss their story and their surgery on the podcast. That way we remain HIPAA compliant. This is a free podcast. The best thing that you can do for us is to leave us a review online. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Let us know how we can improve. If you are curious about
anything related to plastic surgery, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Dr. Nicholas Howland, and I typically respond there, or you can reach us at the office at 801-571-2020, or we have an online form you can fill out at the website, www.howlandplasticsurgery.com. Any of our coordinators would be happy to help you. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Naked Patient Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Till next time.